Alright. Hello friends! Welcome to Music Nation Speaks, where we talk about our music journey, the impact of music in our lives, and also our music industry. And today we have NJWA! Hi! Hello!
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this, really from the bottom of my heart.
Oh,
yeah.
No worries.
So I think one of the reasons why I do this is to really I feel like us musicians live in such a bubble that not a lot of people, like non-musicians, know about us.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, so especially like in because I teach, right? So like I see parents, I see kids, and they want to be musicians or they want to go for gigs, but they don't know where to find us.
Right.
That kind of thing. Yeah. So I think it's very important to bridge our community and also with the music enthusiasts of our society.
Yeah.
So to get right into it, let's hear a little bit about your background. Like how did you get into music?
Okay. So I remember maybe being like 3 years old, maybe, and like 3 years old, little NJWA, and my sister at the time. I mean, we have like an 7-8 year gap. So she, so at the time she was already kind of like taking piano lessons.
Oh wow!
And I remember just watching her, and I was like, oh, what is this thing? What is this instrument? Is this, I was just so intrigued by it all. And I told my mom, like, do you think you could enroll me
to learn piano?
To learn piano.
Oh, wow.
So my mom was like, well, you're a bit young for it, but let me ask the teacher. So the teacher was like, can she read? I mean, not like music notes, but like just
ABC.
In general ABC, right? So at the time, according to my mom, I was already reading. So she was like, yeah, then she can join the class. So
genius.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I started like piano lessons, And I also remember just kind of being exposed to, every time we go traveling, I'm always exposed to like the arts and performing arts or like musicals. My dad would take us to watch like Phantom of the Opera, which is like my favorite musical of all time.
You saw it?
Yeah, so like when I went and I saw, there's the first scene, not the first scene, but like the first proper like singing thing where like Christine comes up and she sings "Think of Me," and it was just like, this little kid, watching this beautiful
stage,
stage and with the costume and the lighting and the music and the orchestra. So everything just kind of like made me feel something,
Right.
Like, and it made me feel like I wanted to do that. I was like, oh, I don't know what that is, but I want to do that. I want to be that. Exactly. So that's kind of how, and then, I took piano lessons and then, got exposed to all these other things. So that was kind of how I started, like my interest in music began, and I remember just, going through my parents' CD collection and then learning about the different, who they listened to, who my brother listened to, and that was, all of this became like an influence and for me to just kind of get into music.
Right.
It wasn't easy for my parents to be like, okay, go and pursue music.
Right.
But I guess they saw my interest and passion in music, and eventually, I mean, many years later,
from 3 years old.
From 3 years old, and then finishing college, and sorry, not college at the time. I was still, I mean, after high school, and then I went to study engineering, and my parents were like,
you did?
I did. I studied engineering for like a good maybe 2-3 years.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but my interest was not, I mean, I feel like my interest has always been music, but I also understood why my parents wanted me to study something else. Yeah, because they're like, oh, music industry, and I understand that, especially now. Like I'm like, okay, sometimes I do have moments where I'm like, maybe I should have taken something else. You know, but when I was studying engineering, I was like, you know, I met with some friends who were also just doing music on the side, and we performed together, and it was just a lot of fun for me, and eventually I managed to convince my parents to just allow me to pursue music instead of engineering.
During your engineering time?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I didn't finish engineering, but I did finish my music degree, so you know.
Yeah. So at what age, how long did it take for you to convince your parents to let you do
to like let me do music?
Yeah.
I think, well, I remember after high school, I was already, you know, when we were choosing the subjects or choosing the course rather, and I remember seeing everything that was related to the arts was just so like, oh wow, you know, because we went to the education fair, and at the time I had chosen Australia as my, you know, like, okay, I was like, all right, my siblings studied in the UK, but for some reason I didn't want to go to the UK. I wanted to go to Melbourne, so we checked out, you know, all the colleges and all the courses available, and I remember telling them immediately, I was like, oh, I want to study music. And they were like, oh, no, not music, you know? It's like, oh, performing arts, like theater, musicals, I mean, you know, like, but they were all, everything arts, they were like, no. So that was the beginning of my, you know, the journey of like convincing my parents. Although they knew that I was into music, like they knew, because I you know, I would perform for, you know, in birthdays or in schools, and you know, all these things. I would always be the person doing the music part, you know. But they, like they said that I should choose something else, and so eventually, you know, it took a while. So I would say, like a couple of years before they finally decided to allow me to pursue music. So I'd say a couple of years. Because
so
by the time
engineering.
I was doing, oh my god, I mean, first I didn't do engineering, I did law first. And then I was like, no, this is not for me. So I chose engineering because I mean, in school, I guess I was pretty, like, they felt like, oh, you know, because I was in science stream, and like, oh, she's good in math, and you know, all these other things that, like, they were like, oh, it makes sense. Then if you choose engineering, then we support you. So I did that, but I realized, you know, I actually went through depression when I was there, because in Melbourne, because I didn't want to, you know, like,
disappoint.
And every day would just be like, oh, okay, going to class and learning something that wasn't really, you know, in my heart, wasn't something that I enjoyed. And I would have friends who were really cool and all, but they would be like, oh, after class, I'd be like, hey, and it would be like a lot of guys go into like engineering, especially with like electronic engineering, which was what I did. And then they would be like, hey, Najwa, wanna go hang out with us? We're gonna make a computer. And I'm like, no, thank you. And that was when I would then meet up with my friends who were, you know, doing music. I mean, they weren't studying music, but they just decided to like do this so that every weekend we could meet up and we could just, you know,
like your own little music.
So I think instead of doing that, I would do more of the music thing, and I felt like that was something that made me feel, you know, better about being
your
there,
situation,
you know, and I was homesick, you know, it was a new thing for me, like to be away from home and to, you know, to have to study something that I wasn't so sure whether I could, you know, whether I wanted to pursue in the end. So I was going through some rough times, and I had a lot of friends who were trying to get me out of it, because I would just like be in the dorm, like just like in the room, not wanting to go out.
Don't come in.
You know, and also, I mean, that was when we first, like, because I had to do year 12 first, right? So that time I was like, okay, because I wasn't 18 yet, so we couldn't stay on our own, so we had to stay in like the boarding,
dorms.
the dorm. So I remember having friends who would be like, Nasha, come out. But at the time it was still early, like, because it wasn't like I hadn't gone into the whole engineering thing, but I guess fast forward like maybe a year later to like I would have the same kind of feeling, but I guess it was heightened because it wasn't just me being homesick. It was like I'm homesick and I'm not enjoying this at all, and I remember actually falling sick. So I have like gastric, right? So and at the time I didn't know what it was. So
was
when
it since young or was it
developed then. I guess during that time that I was in Melbourne, I guess a lot of stress and being. So when I was back in Malaysia, my mom so my mom brought me to the doctor, and then we were just like checking on what was wrong, and then he was like, oh, I think it's gastric, but nothing nothing alarming, but this usually is caused by stress, and so my mom was like, oh, stress, are you stressed? What could cause this? What could possibly cause this? Like, you're young and you're like you're
enjoying life and studying,
and you're like choosing. I mean, yes, I did choose that course. She didn't choose it for me, but my heart was like somewhere else, right? And then the doctor just asked me like one very simple question. He was like, are you happy? And just like I just started crying because I just I guess I was unhappy, and I was trying to tell my parents that I didn't know how. Every time I came back for holidays, I would dread having to go back, And so the doctor was like, you know what? And this is like, because he was like a family doctor, like someone who has been in the family for a while. So I guess him telling my mom, like, maybe you should consider letting her come back. Or pursuing music if that's what she wants to do. And I guess it opened up my mom, like, opened up her mind to like, oh, maybe if I want my daughter to be happy, then I should, maybe but music is something that she wants to do. So that was, I guess that was the turning point. Like that was when I was finally able to, in a way, like convince them to allow me to pursue music.
Your passion. And it's so funny. I think that like what we try to suppress up here, it will show up somewhere else in our body.
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's one of the things I feel if we don't take care of ourselves, it will somehow bite you in your butt. Later on, right? So after that turning point, so you were like, Mom, Dad, do music.
I was like, that's okay, you're giving me this chance, and I'm gonna tell you, like, but of course they were also, because they had gone through this whole, okay, you said you wanted to study law, and you said you wanted to do engineering, so this time around they were like, you choose, we're not gonna help you with anything, like, you figure out yourself, where you want to go, how you're gonna get in, like how to apply. So of course the first thing that came to my mind was immediately Berkeley. I'd always wanted to go to Berkeley.
How did you know about Berkeley?
I don't know, maybe I read somewhere, or maybe I can't remember exactly how, but it's like I'd always known of this Berkeley College of Music, And when I was in Melbourne, I was my house was like next to this like School of Arts or something. I can't remember. It's like Performing Arts School.
Is it not M?
No.
It's
like Victoria. Victoria
something college.
It's like College of Arts. Maybe BCA. Is that something?
I
might just be making this up, but it's definitely an art school. And I remember just like every day you'd see people in their ballet, like leotards coming out, or like people carrying like their instruments. So I wanted to do that actually. So I was like, okay, maybe if I didn't have to like move to another country, then maybe I would just go like apply to that school, because I passed by that school like every day, right? But
And you're familiar with that environment already,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and I already have friends in Melbourne, you know, so, but also it didn't work out because of the timing. Like I would have to wait, I think, for like the next semester or like the next, you know, and it was just too long of a wait. So that was when I decided to check, you know, and I was like, okay, well, dream school, Berkeley, hello, maybe I could just find out.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing, like Berkeley, also the intake would have been later. And then suddenly I was just Googling and I found like International College of Music, which is ICOM, you know, and they're like, oh, they offer this course, they offer like Berkeley, like Berkeley Transfer Program, which is kind of ideal, I feel, at the time, because it meant that I could come back to Malaysia, be with my family, and work on, you know, whatever it is that I needed to work on, and, you know, be home for a bit, and go to school that, you know, and pursue something that I love, which is music, and eventually once I'm done with, you know, that, and then transfer. So it just, I feel like it all worked out in the end. So I enrolled for the Berkeley Transfer Program, and then went via ICOM for 2 years, and then 2 years later,
In Berkeley.
Boston.
Oh my God. It's not even
Memories, do you miss it?
I do.
Me too.
I do.
Yeah.
Like especially, I cannot believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
I miss the Thai restaurant.
Oh, is it Pad Thai? No.
Pad
Which
Thai
one?
reopened.
Pad Thai. And you know, there's this other Thai restaurant that always plays, like, you know, you hear maybe Umbrella in Bossa or something.
Oh,
You know,
oh my God.
I can't remember what it's called.
No.
Pho Basil.
Right across
Yeah,
160
yeah.
kan?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's still okay.
Yeah.
But Roddy.
Oh, Roti, yeah, that was close to my place.
Benway.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, the boat noodle was good.
Yes.
The fried rice was also good.
Indonesian fried rice.
Yeah, right? So good.
Yeah. But what do you miss about being there the most?
One is definitely like the environment, you know, because you would just, I would go through, sometimes I look at my voice notes and I'll scroll up, you know, and I'm like, oh, and I would find these things that I'm like, you know, random recordings of me, because I would either take the T, which is the,
A
train,
train.
not tram. Yeah, but we call it the T.
Yes.
And you know, or if I'm feeling, you know, like healthy and I want to walk, so I would walk, right? So from Fenway it would be like maybe a good 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So in that 20 minutes I'll be listening to music. And just, you know, like sometimes I would get inspired and I'll be like, oh, okay, voice note, and just record stuff, you know. And I feel like the 20 minutes going to school and coming back every day always kind of gave me, like, you know, like a time for me to just reflect on my day, or like going to school, like kind of just, you know, visualizing and seeing what's around me and getting inspired by that, and even, you know, like I would just have all these random, like, spur of the moment things, like to just like, oh, record your seeds, like your
Song seeds.
Right? So I'm like, oh, this is, I can't miss this opportunity, like I better remember all this, like, you know, put it down so I would record it. So I miss that. I miss just being in an environment where I would constantly be thinking about just, you know, because you're a student, you're a music student, so you're like, oh, like everything that you want to learn about music is here, and you know, this is what you're going to be doing for the next few years, you know. And it was nice because then you'd go in and then you go for classes, and then in between you'd see everyone, you know, by the hallway just kind of talking about music, or talking about just whatever, you know. And then you know, it was just that experience. I miss that a lot, like just being around friends, because I think after we were all done and everyone kind of moved to either LA or New York, and I moved to New York, I felt like it was so different because everyone started having their own things to do and living not so close to each other. Like we weren't all like close to school, or you know, so it was a different thing. Like we'd really need to plan if we wanted to meet for coffee or
Have
for
to block
dinner.
out
Yeah,
days,
you know.
yeah.
But when we were in school, everything was just kind of like, oh, lunch, okay, after lunch, or like, you know,
Across the street,
or
okay,
like
let's go.
pavement,
Yeah,
you know,
coffee.
and just have coffee. You know, I miss that.
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
And also, do you feel? I mean, what is your biggest? Okay, let's go back just
Yeah.
a little bit, right? So, what do you think is the biggest difference between getting an education in ICOM and then getting an education in Berkeley?
I think one main difference that I experienced was definitely, I mean, when you're at ICOM, of course, you get to meet people from. There are people from around the world that you could possibly meet. You know, there are students who come from, you know, around Asia.
Yeah.
You know, but moving to Berkeley, it was a totally different experience because you meet people really from all over the world,
yeah.
right? And also, I think because I was taken out of the context of like, you know, I'm not in Malaysia, so you meet people from other parts of the world who have like their music, their culture, you know, like, oh, Latin music, or like, you know, everything that was just different from what, you know, what we're used to. And you go there and you kind of like, it made me ask myself that too, like, what could I bring from my culture? You know, what is Malaysian music, or like Malay music, or traditional music? What is that like? You know, because that would set me apart, because I think the thing that kind of, you know, brings us all together, because I mean, it's not a conservatory, it's like a, you know, it's a contemporary school, so music school, so you know, everyone's like, okay, contemporary harmony, you know, everything is like that's the commonality between everyone, right? But what would set us apart would be like, okay, the music of your tradition, music of my tradition, you know. So that, I think, was the major difference that I wouldn't say it wasn't. I mean, everyone would have a different experience, right? And that was just my experience. And I think it was because I was in a music school outside of my country. But if we're talking about specifically like ICOM and Berkeley, of course, like in Berkeley, they offer other courses that ICOM doesn't offer, right? So you're just like, and your electives are just like, you could take so many different things, right? So I remember taking like an elective on, because I was really into, I mean, before going to Berkeley, my thing was like, oh, neo soul and R&B, and you know, so I really wanted to, I was like really almost like infatuated with that culture, you know, and I wanted to learn about that culture. So I remember we had this class, what's it called?
African American
Diaspora. With Dr. B.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I had that with Larry.
Okay, so this one is like it's something like oh my god, I can't remember. Okay, it's been a while. I graduated 2012, so it's been 7 years. So I'm trying to remember what that course is called, but it was interesting because we basically learned everything about like African American history, like music, the history of like you know how it got from spirituals to the current, like to hip hop, and you know, so it was really interesting to learn those kind of things. But also, like, the more you learn, and the more you're able to like kind of like, okay, so I know what this is, so I don't necessarily have to be this because I'm not this. I understand now, like, I didn't come from that culture, you know, but how can I bring my thing into that? You know,
mix the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Right? Like, what would you say your sound is like? What did you think you brought to the table during your years in Berkeley?
I think when I was in Berkeley, because the thing is, I have to say though, like when I was in Berkeley, I was actually pretty shy. So even though I had like a lot of experience, I suppose, before going to Berkeley, because I actually took a year off after ICOM. I took a gap year so that I could just focus on my music. I worked on my album, and then I moved. I went to Berkeley and then came home just for a while to release my album and then go back.
Right.
So at the time, it felt like I was all about this whole, like the whole, R&B, soul,
Right.
that's. But then you go there and you're like, everyone
One is
is
doing,
like,
yeah.
And I felt really, I think for a while I did feel kind of
Is it intimidating?
intimidated, and I think because I'm actually pretty shy. Like, it doesn't seem that way, but I think that's also because years of just like building confidence, and I think being an artist has helped me do that. And also because you're gonna be on stage and you're gonna just kind of like, you cannot be shy, right? So when I came to Berkeley, of course I felt like that was probably something that I could also offer, but it was only maybe towards the end of my time there that I realized that what I could offer was basically that side of me, the Malay, the traditional side, and it was cool because I had this encounter with someone who I'm trying to remember where he's from exactly, but not from the US, but he basically, I mean, we were just a student there. We were just like I was just walking after class, and he saw me and he's like, "Hey, you're NJWA," and I'm like, "Yeah." So,
That's me.
yeah. I mean, I was like, how did this guy even know? But I guess maybe we had mutual friends, and he was like, I would love to work with you, and he's like a guitarist, and it's really cool, and I was like, okay, sure, let's meet up, and maybe we just talk about.
And that's the cool thing about Berkeley,
because you could just like
go
link up
out
and
to people, like, I like your sound,
let's do something. So he kind of like got me to just meet one time so we could talk about this project that he wanted to do, and then he was like, okay, so before we spoke about the project, he's like, hey, you know what, just sing me something. I was like, oh, okay. So I remember, obviously at the time I was like, oh, I'm so into Erykah Badu, right? So I sang On and On for him. I sang like a little bit of it, and he's like, oh, that's cool. But like, I want to listen to music from like music from your culture, like from Malaysia. What is music in Malaysia like? And I'm like, at the time I was like, well, in Malaysia we listen to this too, or we listen to pop music too. And if you were to ask me about like Malaysian music, I would just probably sing another maybe like Sheila Majid song or something, right? But it would just be a different language, but everything else is pretty much the same.
Right.
And then he's like, well, what about like traditional or something from your culture, like something, folk song or something. So that was when I was like, oh, let me think about it. And I was like, oh wait, I have this, I'm like, I'm from this southern state called Johor, and we have this song.
Johor?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and we have this song which I actually grew up listening to for every like wedding or whatever event. There's always like the ghazal, that song, which is Sri Mersing, which is like a traditional. So we call it asli, right? Like asli. And I was like, I have this song, I'll sing it to you. So I sang that, and I was like, and it wasn't like I was trying to do anything different. I just sang the song as it is at the time, So I was like, Lagu Melayu, like all the Melayu punya lingo and stuff. So he was like, now that because he was, I mean, On and On, everyone. Maybe when you're in Berkeley, everyone's like, okay, cool, we know that, everyone sings
that's a
that
staple
song,
Berkeley
song.
Like,
but this is something. So he really encouraged me to bring out that side, and I felt like, so I remember like when I had like one class called stage performance technique with Livingston Taylor. And he would encourage us to just come up and just do whatever, right? Perform, and like and then he would guide us through the thing. And I remember like me being that shy person, I wouldn't be the person who would volunteer. But after that encounter, I was like, you know what? I think I have something now. I feel like I have something that is different that I could present. So I was like, could I sing something? And I went up and I sang that song a cappella, and it was nice to know that people saw something in that. And I think that was the sort of like a lesson learned for me, you know, to like explore that side.
Right.
Yeah, and it was that was more towards the end of my time at Berkeley. Yeah, so I had to go through some kind of like, you know, also because I was doing CWP, right? So contemporary writing and production. So I wasn't performing much.
Gotcha.
You know, I was just trying to focus on that side. So a lot of it wasn't like, hey, I'm also a songwriter, I'm also an artist, I'm like, you know. So I didn't really participate in those kind of, you know, I didn't do any, I think that was probably, if you ask me, like one regret would have been, I wish I was a bit more like, hey, hello, more out there and like, you know, not too shy or intimidated by, you know, the already really talented people around me, but you know, to just kind of have the courage to be like, hey, could I try this out? Could I be part of your whatever ensemble or something? Because I think I had a bit of like, I don't know, I was a bit like,
I don't think it's just you though, like I mean definitely for a lot of us, milk tea break time. No, but like for all of us, right? Like especially, I mean, I can only speak from my experience.
right?
Like you don't want, we have that misconception of like you go to other people's place, you don't want to memalukan yourself. And you don't want to do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, and then like feel like really embarrassed, right? But how would you say that Berkeley has changed you, or being overseas in general?
I think Berkeley in particular definitely opened my ears, you know. As I mentioned earlier, I was very much into, you know, R&B and soul music, and I thought that was it. Like, you know, I wasn't as open to other styles at the time. Although, I enjoyed listening to it, but not to the extent of like when I went to Berkeley, because you're exposed to every kind of music, right? And then being a music student, you're a music student, so you should be able to appreciate music, you know. And I think through that I just learned so many things that allowed me to just kind of open my ears to these, you know, different genres,
right?
Like almost like to not even think of it as any genre. And then because when you open your possibilities that way, and that's when you're able to like, oh, I could do electronic traditional music, which was something I explored, and I could do like, you know, I didn't have to limit myself to just that, you know. I could explore, like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with pop music, and you know, or like if you wanted to try like just maybe as an artist you could just go do like an orchestral thing, and you know, and explore that side, or like film music. And I think Berkeley allowed me to just be open with myself, and I was an open book, and I was just like receiving,
absorbing everything.
I was just like, okay, because it was also natural for these things to happen, because you would need to take like, okay, like conducting class, then you'd have to listen to Stravinsky and like I don't even remember anymore, but it was like hard, guys.
You have to take the
I don't know, like
you know, my conducting teacher died.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, the semester after I left.
Oh shit. Okay, my experience with my first class. So I had this teacher who was like, so his name is Peter Cockneyas. Anyway, it's like, it's supposed to be Greek, so like Cokkinias or something, but that was his name. So I remember, I don't know where this is going to be. I mean, it's going to be like, okay, global, right? It's the internet.
YouTube.
Oops. But I mean, the experience was just funny, because I remember him, like, I think because he also had like a sleeping, like a disorder that he would just shut down, I think, in the middle of like so I remember like
robot.
So I like, okay, after class, and I had to meet him like, you know, after hours, and just kind of like to go over some things that I didn't understand. And so I
Yeah.
went to him, and he was like looking at the score with me and like, you know, doing the thing with me, and then suddenly he just stopped. He stopped and he closed his eyes and he started snoring, and I was so confused. I was like,
What's going on?
I don't know why, and I didn't know what to do. I just like stood there, right,
Oh
and
my
waited for
God.
him to wake up, basically. So he just like, and he just continued like nothing happened, and I'm like, okay, so interesting, just, you know, like a little story of my
But what-
instructor.
Yeah, what can you do in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah,
hello?
exactly. Because you're like, hi, hello, no, I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna wait till you wake up.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like funny to
Yeah.
experience that. But yeah, like, you know, being exposed to things like that, you'd have to, you know, learn classical music. You gotta
Yeah.
learn about like, and then when you had to do like rhythms, you had to learn all these like different, you know, grooves.
Yeah.
Different Latin grooves, you know,
Yeah.
like all those things you just kind of learn, and
Yeah.
whether you apply them to your music is really up to you. But you had to just like, okay, be open to it, you know, and learn everything. So I think that was one thing that Berkeley really taught me, like, just be open,
Right.
you know, and explore, because music is just like, there are no boundaries.
True, and
you know?
dive deeper into each things as well,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So, after graduating,
Mm.
how was your experience like in New York?
It was interesting. That was really, really fun and interesting because
How long were
so
you there?
I was there for about like 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So, because OPT is about 2 years,
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I came back. Sorry, I moved to
OPT
New York.
1 year. 1 year.
one
1.5.
1.5.
You have like.
And
16
then
days
if
grace
you're
period.
applying for the artist visa, then you get the, you know, the grace
Yeah.
period where you could still.
Stay.
And then while you wait for it to be approved, you're still allowed to stay. So I think that's how I ended up being there for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So, or like a year and a half, almost 2 years lah. So I remember telling myself, because you see, I hadn't like gone and done the whole, you know, artist thing while I was in Berkeley, right? So I was like, shy to, you know, be in a band or like do this whole. So I didn't play any shows or anything
Oh really?
when I was in Berkeley. No,
Oh.
yeah. I really didn't. I feel like when I was there, I really didn't show that side of me at all. Like I would only for like, you know, because for my course you would need to maybe do like one of the final projects would be you'd have to produce a song.
Right.
And instead of getting another singer, I would sing my projects.
Gotcha.
So I sang most of my projects, and that was the only way I could like basically, hey, yeah, I'm also a singer. This is what I do as well, you know. But I never really, and I would sing for friends' projects, but not like the going out and like performing. I didn't do that. So when I moved to New York, I knew that I didn't want to, because the reason why I did contemporary writing and production wasn't so much because I wanted to pursue that side. It's not like I wanted to be like come home and be a producer per se. I still wanted to be the artist, but I just wanted to have like more, you know,
ability, more skills.
Skills in that side and understanding that side, so that when I do talk to a producer, I could tell them, I could tell them, like, okay, maybe this. It's just like being more aware of like, you know, because prior to that, I had no idea. All this side, the technical side of the production side, I didn't really know much about it. You know? So I just felt like, why? I mean, I didn't want to take performance because it was something that, I mean, and I know that of course if I took it, it would enhance my thing even more, but taking something that I had completely no knowledge of, you know, at least that would help me, you know.
You're so brave.
So like, you know, because everyone else, in class, people would be like, I've been using Logic for years, and I'm like, newbie here, you know, that kind of thing. But it was great because then because I needed to finish these projects. I knew I was able to do it.
Yes.
You know, of course, it's been years. So if you ask me to like write for an orchestra,
Yeah.
because I've only really ever done it like once. For your final project, you have to
Right.
write an orchestra. You got to conduct it.
You have to record it live.
You
Yeah.
know. So that was great, but you know, so it allowed me to just kind of see like, okay, I am capable of doing it. I just need more practice, of course. And if I wanted to go back to that, I could just, I could try doing that as well. So when I moved to New York, I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go back to my artist side.
Yes.
I want to be the singer. I want to push that side of me.
You're equipped with your skills
Yeah,
now.
so now I have this, and now I can go back and do the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So I met with some friends who were Berkeley alumni that actually didn't meet when I was there.
Yeah.
I didn't maybe we were different batches, but I didn't meet them when I was in Berkeley. But because some friends of mine were like, oh, this person is looking for a singer for his band. So it was cool, and I met him. His name is Andres. He's like still a good friend of mine till now, and he's from Costa Rica.
Ooh.
So he has this thing called Mostacho Experiment, which is actually his band. He's basically Mostacho.
Literally.
Yeah. So he was he was like, oh, he already had this project when he was at Berkeley. So now that he has moved to New York, he wants to, do
Bring
more
it
of this and
further.
looking for a singer. And I was like, why not? Let's try it out. And it was really nice because I was in a band where, I mean, it was so, when you talk about like multicultural and like multinational, multi-faith, it was so nice to be. So it's like you had like the Asians, which was like me and the pianist Haruka, who is from Japan, and then you had like an Argentinian bass player, and you had like from Costa Rica the drummer Andres, he plays drums, and from the US we had the guitar player, and it was cool because we were all able to just kind of sit down and and it made us actually. It makes you think like music really does bring people together, because we were from different parts of the world. We were and we were practicing different faiths too, like because we had like Muslim, Christian, like we had a Jewish guitarist, so it was like everyone was practicing something that was different, and yet we were able to, despite all these things that are happening in the world, we were able to sit down, make music, and just and so we even wrote for this project and wrote this song called All the People under Mustacho Experiment, and it was just like basically it's like everyone despite our differences, we're all like one together. We're able to like communicate
sit down
and
together.
So it was great. So that I got to do that when I was in New York. So I explored that part, but it was also really. It was eye-opening because doing the artist thing in Malaysia, or at least, I mean, I had started since I was maybe 18, 19, and like doing the whole singer-songwriter side, which is something I didn't really talk about earlier, but like I remember how I pursued music as a career. It all started with like, first going to this vocal workshop, and then they were like, oh, at the end of it, they make you sing, and they're like, oh, you could sing your original song, or you could. So I sang my original, and then it was for the vocal workshop was by this artist called Mia Palencia. So she was like, oh, do you sing your own songs as well? So I'm like, yeah, I do it. So she invited me to perform at one of her it's called Bedroom Musician series. So that was like my first, so that was like my first show. So I got to, I can't remember how I got to this story. I'm trying to connect it back to the New York story.
You were playing the artist part of it in New York.
Yes. And then something about songwriting, back home. Oh God.
I'm just following you.
But okay, anyway, like that's just like a little sidetrack. Like so that part of me, I was like doing all these songs and stuff as a songwriter in Malaysia.
because it's very different being an artist here and
Yeah.
being
Oh
an
yeah.
artist
Okay.
in
All right.
New
Yes.
York.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I started from that 18, 19 doing singer-songwriter, and then had a whole band, and then like doing all these things here, and like then releasing my album. So that I went through the whole phase, right? Like all these phases, and then when I was in New York, it's like we had to start from scratch. Basically, we had to start from the bottom. So
Nobody knows.
Yeah, and I had experienced so many. It was, I mean, when you look back, you're like, oh, that's great, that I got to experience all these things. But it was basically like, sometimes you have to come, like, it's not like backline is provided all the time. And I know like some of my bandmates would have to like bring not just their instruments, but sometimes even the amps, they're gonna bring those things because even those things aren't provided, right? And over here we're so lucky because most of the time it's provided. You get sound check. Over there it's plug and play. You come in, you're just like, okay, pop. It's not like there's a sound engineer sometimes, and you're just like, okay, and time to play. Oh, okay, and I just realized how, when I came back to Malaysia after that whole experience, I feel like, okay, that prepared me to just like, to be able to, that means even if I had half an hour of sound check, that is like good, because I wouldn't even get the chance to do a sound check.
Right.
Back there. And then we also had shows where, I remember we were playing this show in Brooklyn. It was like one of the hottest summer days.
Oh my god.
And so we went to this venue and we thought we were gonna, it's like, oh, it looks like a cool venue. Like, but you're not playing here. Like, oh, we're not. Like, yeah, you're playing out at the back. So, okay, cool. So there were like 2 stages. Okay. So that venue had like another stage outside, which was technically their backyard, sort of like a backyard thing where, like, where the air conditioning, like the the hot air comes out. So that was where it was, and it was so hot. And I remember we were there. We had like 4 people in the audience. We were sweating. My bandmates ended up like performing without t-shirts on. Because it was so hot, and it was crazy, and you think about it, and like, okay, out of the 4 friends, maybe like 2 were my friends. Right. Out of the 4 people in the audience, 2 were like my friends, and then maybe 2 more were like, the other band. Right.
Like groupies or like friends.
So it was a great experience because you're just like, oh, cool, like, to just be in that, you realize like, oh, like, the struggle you have to go through to really make it. It just makes you want to work even harder and makes you just, like come back even more
prepared and stronger.
So I felt that way. It was really an experience. I even had an experience of like performing, and there was no mic at all, and I forgot to bring my mic. Over here, usually like you don't need to have your own mic, but I know it's like the whole thing was through, it started in Berkeley, the practice of like having your own microphone. Like, so when everyone else would have their instruments, so for voice, as a singer you would bring your own mic, right? So with that practice, obviously, like, okay, going to New York was the same thing. I would bring my mic around, but over here, like, if you didn't have, but over here, if you don't have your own mic, it's okay because there are a mic, right? But sometimes over there, especially in this particular gig or this situation where I forgot to bring my mic and there wasn't any, so I had to just perform without a mic. It was kind of weird. But it was like at a restaurant. It was for like some dinner thing, so I had to just like do it with. We kind of worked something out, so we were like we did maybe half of the set instrumental, and I just waited, and then we waited for someone to come with a mic. But while waiting, I just went up and like did something without, like maybe 1 song or 2 songs, because it was like, I guess, intimate enough to just kind of sing without having.
It's a smaller venue, right?
Yeah. But you kind of learn to adapt and adjust to situations.
Roll with the
because it's not always going to be that perfect situation, no matter what tier or what like stage you are in your career, right? You could be Beyonce, and I'm sure she'll have all these things. She'll have like backline and all
Plan
those
A, Plan B,
things.
Plan
and-
C. Yeah.
But surely there will be things that will happen that you'll just have to like wing it and like, you know, just play the show, and there's no way to just, you know, get out of that.
Right.
So I think that was great because I got to learn all these different things, you know, and to just like, and over there it's also like you don't necessarily get paid to perform. It's like you gotta pay
to play.
And or like have this tip, you know, because I'm like, okay, because I'll be the singer of the band, right? And then we would just like, okay, towards the end of the song when you're not playing, you go and take the thing and you go around and like, you know, and you're like, okay, cool, like a bit like shy to go around sometimes because you don't know whether it's like if people care to like, you know, tip or not. But it was a great experience, and through that band I was actually able to also tour. We went to Costa Rica, we went to Nicaragua. It was a great experience, because because the band leader was from Costa Rica, so he arranged for this tour to happen.
Wow.
I took like a 10-hour bus ride from Costa Rica to Nicaragua.
10 hours.
Yeah, it was 10 hours, and it was like, you know, that experience when you go and then you have to go through the border and people talk about like, you know, experiences in borders, and you're like, ooh, and you have to give your passport and you know, that kind of experience. But it was priceless because I got to, you know, see the world, see different things, experience how people do things in other parts of the world. Like, but the one thing I've learned is like the thing that is always going to be the common thing is the music part, you know, like they might have different languages or you know, but it's kind of the same thing, you know. It was cool, and we got to play with some musicians from that part of the world as well.
They call it Latin America, right?
Central
America.
Yeah. So Costa Rica and then Nicaragua. It was nice, and we actually I don't know when this is gonna come out, but like first week of August, because we wrote something, like I wrote something and brought to the band, and we decided to record it but never released it. And then I came back to Malaysia, took that same song and re-recorded it and released it. So it's Ocean, which is in my EP. So I have that version, and then recently Andres contacted me. He's like, hey, I want to release that version that we recorded. What do you think? And I'm like, well, that was a long time ago, and I've already released this version. But you know, but it's sort of like a time capsule thing, right? To just kind of like it is gonna be something that is only released now, but we will tell people that this was something that we all, you know, recorded at this point in time in our lives, you know, because everyone, I think the band members have also changed over time.
Right. The sound is different already.
But we kind of. I felt like, why not, right? To just kind of have people listen to this other version, even though it was a version that was like, you know, a long time ago. But because it would be a shame not to release it.
Right.
So.
And it's also for you guys to remember the time.
Exactly.
God, like every time after you hear that song, you're like,
memories.
Because
I think we also shot like a live video, because it was actually from a live session. We shot the video, and I guess I don't know what happened along the way. You know, we didn't get to release that, and then now I think Andres is like thinking about releasing that footage as well. You know, but for now we're starting with the recording first.
Right. So what made you decide to come back here?
Well,
because I mean, for me, like, it was the whole visa thing.
Right,
it was too much, and like we know our culture here. We know how to work things around. You know, that kind of thing. But what was your decision?
I actually got the approval. So I applied for the artist visa, and I got the approval for the visa, and all I needed to do was to come back to Malaysia and go for the interview
in the embassy,
and then if you get it approved, then you basically, it allows you to go in and out of the US, right? Although I know some people who just like once they get it, they don't even come back to Malaysia. They just continue staying there, and you could do that too. But obviously, I wanted to be able to move in and out of Malaysia.
Yes.
So, but when I came back, I knew I had to go for the interview.
Yes.
I also heard that this particular interview, sometimes some people get rejected, and then so I guess I was like putting it off for a while. I was like, maybe I don't go for the interview yet, and I was just like doing the usual artist thing here. Like 'cause at the time I was like, okay, I'm back, so I wanna perform, and I'm back for a while. I don't know how long I'm back for, but I'm gonna be here for a while. But I did pack all of my stuff though. I packed all of my stuff in New York.
Just in case.
Well, it was more of like maybe I might move to LA instead. There was that idea of like, and my lease was like ending, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna move out of this apartment, put my stuff in storage, and then we'll see. We'll see. So at least I have it in storage. When I come back, if I decide to stay in New York, I'll move it to wherever the new place is.
Yeah.
And if not LA, then I'll move my stuff to LA.
Right.
But of course, coming back, and like my mom was just like, oh, you should just come back.
Yeah, you should stay.
And I'm like, I don't know. I still want to explore, my possibilities, because finally I had released my solo thing. So I was with the band, Mustachio Experiment, but at the same time I was working on my EP. And
your solo EP.
Yeah, so I had my first show in New York before coming back was like my solo show. It was as NJWA and not like Mustachio Experiment. So I was like, well, I want to explore that because I'm finally doing, because it takes some time. You're gonna meet people and you're gonna, put together your band.
Yeah.
So, and I finally felt like, okay, now I'm ready to push my solo thing, right?
Yeah.
But my mom was like, yeah, but over here you already have something, and you could just like start from here because you could always and I thought about it, and I was like still unsure about it, and then somehow there was also the love side. And everything kind of just fell into place. My husband is someone that I've actually played with for the longest time. We were in a band back in Malaysia for maybe 8-9 years. We'd known each other already. So, and then somehow, things happened, reconnected, we fell in love, and then suddenly it was just like everything happened so fast. And, I had to, of course, make that decision to like either go back or be here and be with the people that I love, and to still do the thing that I love, but maybe
different setting.
And I also realized that maybe I should come back and contribute to our community, because I think I could always I had discussions with a lot of different people, and people with like very different perspectives, and they gave me advice, and I kind of decided in the end that I guess I will be here. I'll come back here and just see what I can do from here, and at the same time be able to contribute to our industry. And it hasn't been easy. Because it's very different also, because you come back because I think when you're in America, it's very different because that's where a lot of things happen, right? The new things happen there, and
the innovative.
And you kind of need to be innovative because it's so oversaturated with musicians doing different kinds of things, and you kind of want to stand out, so you're constantly trying to figure out how to stand out.
You need to carve your own path over there.
But over here is a little different, because over here you're kind of like, okay, there's this scene, but people follow what is
from the West.
It's still that culture. So when you come back and you're like trying to do something that is considered new or like avant-garde or whatever, it isn't easy, because I guess I had grown already as an artist from the time before I left, and then coming back with all of this knowledge and with all of these experiences, I wanted to, of course, present that in my music. I wanted to contribute that part of me, and I think that has been the challenge because of it being maybe it's a bit too
out there.
out there,
Yeah.
and people here aren't ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, but I also feel like I don't want to stop doing it just because I know,
Yeah.
especially if my whole point is like, okay, I also still want to push my music out there. You know, I would need to be different.
Yes.
Right, and I
Yes.
don't want to make music that king. So
What's
you
the
know,
point?
finding that balance, you know,
Yeah.
is the challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, would you say that audience now, they're more receptive to newer things?
The urban, I think the urban audience, they are, you know, but I think
The younger ones,
Malaysia,
yeah.
in Malaysia, you kind of have to see, you know, you have to understand that majority of, you know, like the mainstream, the mass, it's still very, it's Malay. You know, there's that. There's also the urban, you know, like people who do listen to English music and everything.
Right.
But there's that. That is what dominates the Malaysian music industry.
Yeah.
But I also see now that, I mean, I think I've been back for maybe almost 5 years. So from the time that I came back till now, I think there are more and more people, not just like, yeah, I guess people who are more willing to do the, you know, like the
experimental
or
stuff,
even
yeah.
just like, okay, not going to go do like Malay ballads only. I'm going to explore this side as
Like,
well.
put a little bit of electronic music
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah,
kind
and,
of
all,
thing.
and I think there is a scene, like you can see, for instance, there's like Good Vibes,
Yes.
right? And you see Anugerah Juara Lagu, like AJL. It's like completely different, right? But these are both the Malaysian music scene.
Right.
But I think if we gotta find a way to like blend those two, bridge them together, because right now it almost feels like there are two separate scenes.
Bubbles.
Yeah, of course there are people who are like, okay, there are crossovers, and people who are like, okay, maybe people from this scene work with people from this scene. But it almost feels like, yeah, it's two separate things. So you might, if you are someone who is big in this side of the industry, and you're like, oh, okay, my aim is Anugerah Juara Lagu, for instance.
Right.
And suddenly if you're like, oh, but I want to play Good Vibes, and then suddenly I feel like the audience also have this kind of like resistance towards, it's almost like, oh, why are you on our side? But instead of like embracing, I mean, they're
everyone.
Yeah, you know, these are people, these are musicians and artists who are Malaysian, and that's all that matters. But you know, there is this divide for now, you know. But at least this side, the scene is bigger. Last time it was dominated by this side, which was the Malay music, you know, mass, you know, side, and then you would have like, maybe you would consider these people, oh, you call it the underground, right? And all these people who are doing neo soul or R&B or of course hip hop is another thing. Hip hop has transcended that whole, you know, hip hop is like the mainstream music of, like in Malaysia it's considered mainstream now.
Right.
You know,
But
all
hip hop
these-
is so cool though.
Yeah, it is, you know, and like I think there are all these other kinds of music that people are making, and artists who are pushing that side, and there are more of those, and more people are seeing that. So I feel like it's slowly growing. This side. And I feel like I kind of, where I sit in between these two, you know, which is also I think the challenge as well, because sometimes I'm like, do I go more towards this side, or am I being more towards this side? Finding that balance, because I have experienced, like, you know, where I completely abandoned this side, you know, and go like, okay, I'm just gonna explore this side. And then there are people who over here, they're like, oh, where is Najwa? Where is she? How come we've not heard of her? Especially after my rebranding. You know, like,
tell me a
I
little
think
bit about your journey of rebranding.
Yeah, I mean, so what happened was when I came back, right? So I was still going by the name Najwa Mahiadin, you know, and that the song we were talking about earlier, like Sentiasa Merinding, is the last release under that name, you know, and at the time I was already, prior to that release, I was already starting to feel like, okay, because I came back bringing this electronic side and, you know, like a darker side of my music, more experimental, which is very different from when I first released my album. And I had got to go in there, which was more like, you know, Motown inspired, more soul, a brighter sound, you know, and then image-wise it was also very different, and it almost felt like, yes, I understood that I am the same person and I've evolved, but it almost feels like people were still expecting that, and I felt like using that name Najwa Mahyadin, it just kind of like they're still
it puts you in a box.
Okay, this is their expectation of it, you know. And also I feel like it didn't vibe with what I was going for, you know, that name. I mean, it is my name, I'll always be that person, right? But I think my artist name, I felt like my stage name needed to be different to reflect where I was heading, you know, in my artist side,
to be aligned with your sound,
with my sound and the image, the whole, you know, the whole thing, you know. And I felt like it was necessary to make that change, although it was a risk because you know, you really need to like get people. Of course, for a while it was difficult because people were still, you know, calling me by that name, or you know, you'd go for you know, TV shows or whatever, they would still put Najwa Mahyadin. And I have to call this, like, you know, Najwa, but you know, it's different because over there you could be like SZA and people are like, okay, this but it's SZA. Her H.E.R. all caps, there's no problem. No one's gonna suddenly like, you know, spell it differently. And we made it clear. We also put it out, you know, in the press release and stuff, for like how it should be pronounced and how you should write it. But it was still a challenge because people like were still confused, or maybe they were like, oh, because maybe I'm guessing it's like, oh, this person, I would tell them, okay, so just make sure you spell it this way. They're like, okay. And maybe when they spell it this way, maybe the editor or something, right, will just be like, oh, I don't think that's correct. NJWA, that can't be right. So they would be like, you know, I think I'm going to correct it. I'm going to just assume, you know, so when it comes out to print, it becomes back to Najwa. You know? But then later on, like, I guess the more, and especially because I was trying to push my music, and push my music outside of Malaysia. And it's great because when you're pushing your music outside of Malaysia, it's suddenly quiet, right? When you're trying to push, when you're trying to push your music or push yourself as an artist in places where you're still unknown, or you're still new, or you know, it's almost like a clean slate. So when you send and say, oh, okay, let's say my manager was like, oh, I have an artist and her name is Najwa, spelled NJWA, all caps. Like the first. That's basically their first introduction, right, to me. Then they were like, okay, Najwa. That, so they don't have this confusion of like Najwa Mahyadin, or you know, it will just
prior name.
So when I receive like sometimes like invitations for festivals, and then when you see your name on the list of like, you know, the lineup, and you're like, oh my god, that's me. Like it felt really good to see that, and I felt like, okay, you know, now the more I do it, of course, the more people are aware of this name change, this rebrand, and they understand it. So seeing it appear every time, it makes me feel, you know, proud that I like, okay, you know, I stuck to it, because you know, it was a challenge. I had to also figure out like all my social media things, change it, and then people were wondering where I was, because I think people who were not following me, and then when they wanted to search for me, they were like couldn't find, but you know, true. You just gotta keep at it.
Just to like get to the place where you want your artistry to be, right?
And you're gonna like be persistent and like stand. How do people say, like, stand your ground? No. Right. Like you gotta just like, oh, this is me. You know, this is me. I'm not gonna change who I am. This is what I want to present. But it comes with those challenges where you're like, you know, should I include this music, this song that people have been wanting to hear in my set, right? Should I just stick with what I want to present to them? You know, because it almost like for a while there was this transition, and then you're like, ooh, who am I? Like, because I knew who I wanted to be, but because because of just people who knew me already, and they'd be like, oh, they would
Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that?
Yeah, or like they would hire me
Yeah.
for shows, not being fully aware that I have gone through this rebranding, and they would expect the older,
the
you know,
previous sound, previous image.
Yes.
Right.
So then you'll be like, oh, that's confusing. But I guess the more you do it, the more, then I guess people get that this is me.
Yeah.
So if they want to hire me, they hire me for
you
this.
get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so cool to see, because before this, I've never heard you sing, and I've never seen any of your shows.
Right.
So my first experience watching you is like really, it's really an experience.
Right.
It's not like, okay, song after song after song.
Yeah.
It's the whole, it's visual.
Yeah.
It's audio.
Yeah.
It's auditory, and
Yeah.
it's also an experience.
Right.
I
Yes.
feel the flow of your songs, and
Yeah.
everything makes sense.
Yeah.
It connects, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I find really interesting is that I think right now you're the only person or the only artist that I know that has your own core band and has your own backline,
Right.
and has your own sound engineer and also has your own like the lights. Yeah,
The lights is fine.
it's so cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think over the years, but especially when I was going through this whole rebranding thing, right? Like I knew what I wanted. I knew that, I always, even when I was doing like, let's say when I was Najwa Mahiadin and doing that kind of, that the image was like, motang lah, red lipstick, I like the whole, and I would still, I would ask my previous manager like, could I maybe have like fairy lights on my piano if I wanted to, I was always trying to explore that. But also sometimes when you're new, or maybe getting a manager who understands that part as well, and to be able to bring that into, like, make that a reality was not something that I immediately was able to do. Although I always knew, I always had a vision, because I would, like, when I was doing the Mochan thing, then okay, band members, we all have to like wear a certain way so that we kind of look like, there's this is the thing that we're trying to present, it needs to look cohesive, it needs to, this is branding, this is image, so when I transitioned to like Najwa, right, I already had that even before the official transition, right? I already knew like, okay, my set is gonna be like dark, and it's gonna have like, I'm always gonna be wearing like black in general, or like, a certain kind of look, and
you're so stylish with all the blacks. Like there's so many different kinds of blacks.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I just really enjoy bringing that on stage, and I was just like, and because it's also me off stage, right? And I'm just trying to bring that to an audience, to add on to the experience. So I was just like, I always wanted to have that, but I was lucky because I when I was going through that rebranding, I had a manager who truly understood like production, right? And she understood what I was trying to do, like visually, branding wise. She knew what I wanted to do. So she was able to kind of like, I mean, when we first met, and because when I got her to manage me, and her name is Carmen, by the way, and she's
Carmen.
Yeah, Carmen. So Carmen is no longer managing me because she has gone to do bigger and greater things. So, but when she was helping me out, it was great because she, like, her forte is that, like, production and
live sound.
Yeah, and I wanted to work on that on my live shows, right? And also my rebranding needed all these other things to happen as well, like making sure the website looks right, and making sure that so prior to that, everything was a little bit like all over the place. And Carmen kind of like, she was like, okay, make sure my YouTube has the proper name, my logo is there, and change the address to become this, and have the website look, have all these things updated, and everything was like one. So it's not like you go here and suddenly there's Najwa Mahiadin, but you go here it's Najwa, and here it's like the photo is like this, and so everywhere you go, if you just type that, it will be that same thing, you know.
Yeah, you're getting the
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she understood that, and she was really like responsible for all of that. And then we had our meetings on like how we wanted to present the show, you know. And I spoke to her about lighting, how I wanted the lights to be, how I wanted it to look.
Yeah.
And I was so like, at the time, and I still am, like I was kind of into this whole like blue light thing.
Yes,
Like the light.
I saw the covers.
Yeah, because you know the light. I feel like the color blue really suits my music when I mean already and black is what I wear and all of that, you know. But I just feel like when I listen to the music and how I present it, especially live, it felt like the color suited the mood, you know. So that's why I was like, okay, I think I want it to be blue, and I want it to be lit a certain way, and I gave her all these like references, and I was watching all these different shows, like, and whether it was live or like on YouTube, I would just research and show her like, okay, this is what I want,
like
references, and she understood, and she kind of put that in the like, there was like tech writer with all of this stuff, but also, you know, okay, how the lighting should be, so that because I don't have a lighting engineer for my shows, right now we have like the core band and we have a sound engineer, but I still don't have like a lighting engineer, you know. So most of the time we will have to tell whoever is doing lights at the show how we want it to be, and we'll be very specific. It's like, no, like it's not blue with a hint of yellow, it's not blue with like, it's just like blue, and maybe if you want a little bit of this and that, but we try to be as specific, because we have a show, and we want to be able to present the show, like you said, it is an experience, and we want people to just not focus on like the songs only,
like,
or focus on me only, but go there and like, because I mean, you watch a lot of shows, right, that are like, oh, the production is like from start to end, it's a proper show. It's like, and I was inspired because when I was in New York, I experienced a lot of, you know, I had a lot of opportunities to just watch shows, and I didn't care that I didn't have any friends to come with me. Every time I saw, it's like, if there's a show and my favorite band or whatever is playing, I'll just like get the ticket and I'll just go and watch.
Is she right?
And I'll just like, okay, you know, I don't have to like plan and have friends, because if I were to wait for that to happen, I might miss the opportunity. And I'm like, wow,
to be right in front.
I'm already in New York. When will I ever get the chance to just, you know, go and watch? So I would watch, and some of these shows, they're like amazing, because you know, they would plan it out like, you know,
really
from the entrance, you know, to like, you know, how they want the lighting to be, how they want the stage to look, you know. So I discussed that with my team, and everyone kind of understands that. So now even with the bands, like we kind of make sure everyone has a certain look, and like my husband and I will like kind of guide the band, style, you know, style the band. So like, even if like recently when we did Borneo Jazz, and like, you know, I'm sure everyone else kind of had like their, the looks, right? The different bands had the looks. But the thing is, my band members some of them were also playing for the bands before and the bands after. Right. So obviously I had to be like specific with like the look. So Nish, who plays keyboard for me, she was playing like for Dasha, she was then playing for me, and then like for Joe Flizzo after. Oh my god! It was like her festival. And she, you know, but because she understands as well that like, okay, we've been doing this for a while, right? And so she's like, okay, cool. So we already had a look for her. So she came, played the show, got off stage when it was my turn, put on another outfit, go, and then and she was aware that like, you know, I'm not gonna wear this same outfit for the third one, because this is like NJWA punya, like, you know, the look is, you know, and she respects that. So she went off stage, took it off, like changed, went up again, and played the next show, you know. But that's just how important we really stress on these things, because I think it's not. I think when people come, I want people to know that you're not just gonna get me singing. It's not just that. I want people to experience everything, you know, and go through like the journey with me. And so we we rehearse, you know, the shows all the time, like because we have our space that we'll just, you know, every week we will meet up with the band and just kind of work on songs, and you know, whether we have shows or not, we meet. And we just, like, you know,
just to practice,
and like, okay, how, like, maybe you want to change the arrangement, or maybe we want to, like, just work on what we have, but we want to make it better, you know.
And I think, like, speaking on, like, just meeting up consistently, right? I think consistency is the key to, like, getting your sound. And I feel like that is something that we're lacking today, because I was just talking to Laura just now, like, we were talking about, like, how, like, complacency and things like that. Right? So, like, because life, right? So we have to pay bills, we have to gig all the time. It's either you don't grow as an artist or as a musician, and you get stuck in that, and then you burn out. You know, so like having the time to really just sit down with your people to really work on your sound, your craft. I think that's very, very important.
I think I'm really blessed to have, like, people who believe in my vision. It's like Team Naja. Who wants to be on Team Naja? You know, sign up here. You know, but like it was nice to, because when we wanted to do this, we, you know, all of us were like, oh, look, you know, this is what we're trying to do, and we want to make sure that everyone's on board. Like,
same page too.
And if you don't feel like this is your vibe, then it's okay. We don't have to, you know, I'm not going to feel bad about it and not feel offended. But if you are and you believe in my vision and we want to be part of this, so let's do it, you know? So I'm grateful to have, like, people around me who see that vision and who are with me on this, you know? And so everyone's like, okay, cool. So they, you know, sometimes I feel bad, like I'd be like, oh guys, sorry, we have no shows. It's been a few weeks or like months of no shows, but we still need to come in, like, you know, every week we got to work on it, because, you know, because then when you do have shows, you'll just practice more to, like, prepare for that particular show, but you don't lose the momentum and that synergy between each other, and like that chemistry, that energy, you know, I don't want to lose that. And I find that sometimes when we take breaks and we come back, it's like, you know, everything kind of sounds a bit off, and we can tell, we'll feel like, oh, something doesn't feel right. And we kind of need to, like, play a few more times, you know,
just to get back on
track. But I do understand that, like, it isn't something that, it's like you want to do this, and I'm sure there are other artists or other, like our friends who want to do the same thing, and maybe it just takes time to, like, kind of, okay, let's put this together, you know, because everyone has commitments. I understand that, you know, and it's really difficult to, like, you know, be consistent, like you said, because sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm doing this because this pays the bills, and I need to do this, you know. But I think if balance, like, it's up to you to decide, like, okay, what you want to do, right? And you could, maybe you don't have to go, right away have all this, but maybe slowly build yourself to where you want to be, you know. But maybe for now it's like working on your stage presence, or like how you, you know, how you present the music, how you present the set, how do you want your audience to feel, and maybe you can work on that first, and maybe you don't have a band that's, like, fixed, and maybe that's okay, and you try to work something out. So, you know, it's like, I feel like there's so many there's so many different ways to, I mean, if you got someone to play for your show, that means the person believes in you in some way. So maybe you might not get the opportunity to rehearse as much as you want, but maybe you can
they'll
focus,
show up for you,
and then focus on, like, you know, the little things that you could change to make it a better show, a better performance, you know. But I also think that because we are musicians, like, we don't want to just, like, oh, it's not all just smoke and mirrors, and then, but I think most importantly, like, work on the music, you know. And I think if the music is honest and everything is, like, you know, your intentions are good, then people will see that. And they'll feel that.
Whatever that comes out from here, they will receive it here. So, okay, going back to, you know, being in a band and working with being the same band as your husband.
Right.
How is that like?
It is both satisfying and challenging at the same time, because I think working with your spouse, sometimes if you don't draw the line, you could
Bring
just
work
end
back
up like
home.
and I think that's still something that we struggle with, because we do almost everything together. Like we're in the band together, but we also have this business that we do together called Neuron Productions, and it's like we have that part to worry about, and so when we're we almost don't have that time, like free time, where we don't talk about work sometimes, like there's that need to, because of the urgency of things sometimes, so it's like, oh, we're free and we're having dinner as husband and wife, and suddenly like, oops, work comes out. Can't help it sometimes.
Right.
So I think but it's also great because I get to travel with my husband, and I get to experience things with him and work. Because we work together, we're able to share our vision with the world,
right?
And that's very satisfying.
Especially when it's art, right? Something so malleable that you can. It's not like how do you call it, like a business per se. It's art. You get to appreciate it. You get to create it together. And
also because we as a couple we travel, for instance, right, or we see things together, and so because we work together, we're able to remember that thing when we went for the exhibition, that we both kind of were able to draw from the things that we did together, and he would get it because he was experienced that so if I wanted to, let's say, even like trying to work out our set, or like the design, or like how the band looks, these are discussions that we.
Okay, what was I saying just now before we got so
when
rudely
you're like an up and coming artist, then you don't realize the
the whole package So I think what you were saying was it resonates. It really resonates. Okay, so let's dive right into. Let's choose 3. Just 3.
Okay.
So sorry. I'll get a fishbowl next time.
Okay.
3.
And what is in here? What are the possible things that are in here? Like just random questions?
Random questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, like fun questions?
Not really.
No. Okay, do I take all 3 now?
You don't have to, or you can. Yeah.
Alright, I got 3 now.
Okay.
Oh dear. Do I open it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the first one.
Oh, groove or harmony? Harmony.
Harmony?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really like into like harmony. Like when I think about, which is why sometimes like when I work with producers, and like when I write a song, I already have like a specific, like, okay, because I know, okay, why there are these chord changes and with this melody is because I want to evoke a certain emotion.
Right.
And sometimes you bring it to a producer, or like let's say when my husband, like when Folk arranges for like, with the band or something, and he's like, oh, let's change this chord, and I'll be like, don't change it. I'll be very like, I'll hold on to it so much because sometimes I'm like, but this chord makes me feel this way. That's why I put it in there.
Right.
Yeah. So like groove, I choose harmony.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Next one.
What is your best quality? Oh.
As a person.
Wow, I don't know what my best quality is. I guess I'm. Oh my god, it's so funny. I don't know. Like, what is my best quality?
Something that you recognize within yourself, and something that it sits well. Yeah.
I think I'm not very judgmental. I'm pretty open.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes like I find that because I like to see both sides. So like when people, I don't want to like straight away judge a situation, or like even sometimes I have people who are going through things, and because I guess they see that I'm like open and I'm not gonna judge, like, okay, maybe this happened to to this person in their relationship or something, but they might not want to open up to someone who they feel like, okay, maybe they might judge me if I am open about what actually happened. But I think maybe I don't, because I'm always kind of like open in that way. I don't like to judge. I think some of my friends kind of feel comfortable
Just
telling
telling
me about like what really happened. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes. So I think maybe that.
That's so nice. Being empathetic.
Yeah.
Last one.
What are your routines to ensure a great day ahead? You know, I still struggle with this.
Really?
Yeah, I still struggle with this because I think like I don't have like a, you know, some people like, oh, I'm gonna make sure that, so I'm gonna like make sure I do yoga in the morning, or
Right.
like I make sure I listen to
No.
music,
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like people have this routine, and I think for me, especially because of my lifestyle, I haven't like really gone into that whole like, oh, I need to set a routine, you know.
Right.
But I think I do notice that like the little things that I do when I wake up, for instance, like that kind of lifts my spirits or makes me feel better. It's like, okay, when I wake up, what I would do is I would always like just go around the house, like open all the windows, let the light in, and I think that kind of makes me feel like, oh, okay, it's like, it's nice because it's like you get the sunlight in, and like you feel good about your day, and like I'm ready to, like, you know,
Start my
day. So sometimes when I don't get to do that because I'm like in a hurry,
Rushing.
I can feel the difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So sunlight.
Sunlight, yeah. Sunlight.
We're
is
like
important.
plants.
Yeah. We are.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For doing this. I really appreciate it because I think I met you, I really got to know you just last year.
Yeah.
When we first met.
Yeah.
The industry is so small.
It
You
is, yeah.
hear names being spoken or like mentioned, and it's been a pleasure.
Oh yeah, it's nice. It's nice to you know be able to have this conversation with you, and you know. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll do part 2.
Yeah.
Maybe when
I mean, this is already so long. But I just kept talking because it was just so nice to, you know, just talk about things. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to add on? Like, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. On social media, you can find me. I'm NJWA Music, so that's NJWA Music, MUSIC. I'm on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Same thing, but if you're looking for me on Spotify, my artist name is NJWA, NJWA, all caps. Yeah.
Alright. So thank you so much for
You're
watching.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for talking as well and sharing your experience. I hope you guys take away some valuable things from this conversation, and also pick out little nuggets, you know, to get to really understand our industry. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.